Gents, we're back. We're going to continue on. This is our latest portion of the spoken word tour, right? As we all know, this started a few years ago with me getting stood up down there to Conco, and so I ended over at Motormouth Mall's place, and John was kind enough to sit down with me and start talking with me, and here we are today. I've interviewed quite a few people, 766, Bob Gibson, Bullet Bob Burns, 63, 300. There's quite a few of them. If you go and you look on the YouTube channel, you'll see playlists, I think. And you'll see that I have all of these grouped together as a playlist. It's called the Spoken Word Tour. I've interviewed Mud Duck Sharky, I've interviewed Prime, I've interviewed a lot of these people. This is what it is. Today's little installment is going to be about my friend, Pennsylvania Pimp, the man with the three-eyed Sneaky Pete monster out of the Poconos. That guy is badass. We're going to get to him. I want to talk about the shirt that I'm wearing, by the way. This is made for me by my friend Lady Mermaid. Now, she is our largest and baddest ass female radio operator on this side of the United States on the West Coast. She is, hands down, as far as watts go. Badass. And no, she's not pirated on somebody else's station. This is her station. She's a legit operator. No excuses on the bowl. I still want to have this shirt made where this logo is on the back and then my logo is up here on the shirt and it says "because I said so." I think that'd be a kick-ass shirt. If you guys feel like it or want a shirt from her, she's got all kinds of merch that she's doing. If you've got her number, it's kind of like the A-Team, if you can reach them. Okay, give her a call and tell her I sent you. Let her know that I want a custom shirt. She already knows, but you get what I'm getting. All right, back to talking about my friend, Pennsylvania Pimp. I contacted him a couple months before I even went out on this road trip. And I said, brother, as I'm doing this trip, one of the people I want to interview is you. And I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I don't know what my routing's going to be, but I'd love to sit down with you. Well, I went and I interviewed Tom at Mako. And then I went and interviewed my homeboy Tech 9, spent a couple days with him. Well, from Tech 9's place, it's just a short little jump. It'd be like this. So over here is Idaho, and a short little jump up to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids, I got to meet more people at this. I am so glad I went to this thing. Now I can put a face and a personality with these voices and these people I've been talking to on the radio for this last decade. It was awesome. I had so much fun. Those guys over there, they put on a good show. They really did. There's a little bit of stuff that goes on with every break ever, right? But from my side of the street, not having to host the darn thing and just getting to go to a break and hang out and meet people and sit in the lawn chair out front and talk with people, it was a great experience. Everybody was so open and welcome and just, hey, dude, so glad you're here kind of attitude. And one of the people I met right away was this big, giant bastard. Big guy. But when he talks to you, he's one of those rare people that when you actually talk to him, he looks you not in your eyes, but like down in your soul, you know what I mean? And he's really present. And with a lot of people, you'll find they're just waiting for their turn to talk. And they're not really listening to what you have to say. Not this guy. He's present, he was in the moment, and he was really, just super cool, fun guy. This guy I'm talking about is Pimp. So I told him, I said, I'm going to stay one extra day at the break, and then I'm going to continue on. I'm most likely going to just come directly to you, pass right over the Buckeye and that kind of thing. There's some people out there I want to interview, but at this point in the trip, I was kind of like, I got to go. I got a bunch of stuff I got to get done, and I was only planning on being on the road like maybe 15 days, and it turned into about 33, 34 after it was all said and done. So I said, I'm just coming right to you. Well, he ended up having to do some business down in Philly. Well, while he was in Philly, he grabbed a couple sandwiches for us. Man, I'm broken now. Thing was like this long, it seemed like. Listen, I like food. If you can't tell, I like food. This sandwich was so good. That kind of sandwich 3 days later, you're still burping it up. I mean, it was good. The other day, we all went out to eat, and everybody got a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, and I got this little tiny hoagie that was like this big. And I about sent that thing back. It's crying. I was like, man, I want a Philly cheesesteak sandwich that Pimp brought me, man. That thing was amazing. I stopped about 20 miles from where he lives. There's a fairly large town, and I got myself a decent little hotel room. And I was averaging about 5. First day was 900. Next day was averaging about 500 miles a day. You realize on one of these trips that you're in it for the long haul, right? So you got to kind of pace yourself a little bit. And so I get to the hotel. It's late. And I said to the gal at the desk, I said, so is there any place still open? She's like, oh yeah, Ronnie's. I'm like, Ronnie's, huh? She goes, yeah, just Google it. It's right down the hill. So I stayed at this Holiday Inn that's up on top of this hill and overlooked the whole area. It was breathtaking, beautiful view, right? So I go down to Ronnie's, and it's this old-timey, I mean, straight out of the 40s and 50s ice cream shop that's been converted into a diner. Just dirty, you know, but my kind of place. I got the best chili burger I had on the whole trip. I love chili burgers. I will dodge a Ruth Chris. I will dodge the best steak joint in town. Even, I know I'm going to go to hell for saying this, but I'll even pass over on a Papados to go eat at a decent chili burger at a good greasy spoon. It's just the way I am. Listen, this is the kind of restaurant where my waitress had to take not 1, not 2, but 3 smoke breaks. There was Motley Crue playing on the jukebox the entire time, and there was Golden Girls playing on the TV. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Next morning, got up, packed up all my shit, and went on over there to Pennsylvania Pimp's place. And he met me at the front door with the biggest hug and says, come on in. Good Lord, does that guy have an electrical service? About the only person I seen that had a little bit more electrical service going on than him would probably be Derail. But we'll get to that in another segment. Have faith. Ladies and gentlemen, and I say ladies because there's like 0.01% of you guys out there that are actually female. And at this point, I've come to the conclusion that it's some dude logged in on his wife or his girlfriend's iPhone. You know, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, Pennsylvania Pimp. All right. So, how old were you when you got into radio? What was your very first memory of radio? You just talk to me. Don't look at the camera. Look at me and let's just chat.
No. So I was like 9 years old.
Okay.
Okay. My dad was a truck driver. So the first radio we had was realistic 23 channel radio.
Yeah.
And used to listen to it. And then, you know, the guys start telling me, say, hey, you gotta do some stuff. And my dad bought a Phantom, 12-tube Phantom, 500, Phantom 500. Okay. And he put up a pair of Moonrigger 4s. So this is in North Philadelphia. So a lot of people didn't really know what in the world was going on, but they knew after a while because I started broadcasting. So my dad would talk every once in a while.
So you were bootlegging on your dad's setup?
Oh, I was bootlegging.
So let's put this all in context. What year was this, you said?
So this was back in 1972. So
50 years ago.
Yep.
51 years ago.
Be 51 on my August 9th. I'll be 60, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I always listened to the radio, and one of the things that fascinated me was...
It's like magic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it fascinated me because it was certain people, they could talk skip, and they were just dominating, people was coming back, and I thought that was so cool because they was talking all around. And one of the guys that very impressed me was Bad News. 456. That's what he used to call himself. And he went from Bad News to The Old Man on the Cane, No Name, and then Night Night. Okay?
No shit.
And
So you've been knowing him your whole life.
I knew him. So I was watching
Right.
him go and changing and everything of the sort like that. So that's why I got so many multiple handles. That's why I have, and he changed it. He just kept changing the game. And he was the man in Philadelphia. And then you had like a guy called Little Apple and Big Apple and, Rico
So
in New Jersey.
what part of Philly did you grow up in now?
North Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in North Philadelphia, 27th and Leon. That's where 27th and Somerset.
How rough was the neighborhood?
Oh, it was a rough neighborhood. They had, it's a gang war. That was when they had Black Panthers and the Valley, and you go from one area to another area. Like I had to go through 2 gang areas to go to school. So yeah, it was
A little tough.
But on my side, they called it the hostage, the good side, where I lived at.
Okay.
Okay, even though all the drug dealers and the bigger gangs and stuff like that was on that side, it was the cleaner neighborhood. Like you crossed over, everybody area looked a little trashy. Our area looked a little bit more upscale.
Right.
Black people living there, but looked a little bit more upscale. So, yeah. And
Who was your closest kid that you were tight with in the neighborhood back when you were young? You remember his name?
we're still close to the day. Matter of fact, he moved up here. His name was Mark. Mark Brown. We grew up together.
You guys did all the fun. Your generation and my generation were like the last 2 generations where we literally grew up with a house key around our neck, and
Oh yeah,
you could go out and go play and didn't have to worry about nobody messing with you, or
because he lived on the other side of Lehigh. Like Lehigh was like the split,
Okay.
so he lived on the other side, and I used to go over there. That was the bad side. That was the bad side. So,
Right.
and me and him grew up together. Since 3rd grade. Since I've been knowing him since I was 9 years old. And we grew up together. And we're still friends to this day.
So your dad was a truck driver and he had a 23-channel realistic radio. Do you remember the model by chance?
No, I don't. But it was old. Yeah.
Archer Radio Shack, they made a lot of radios.
That's where he came from, radio. Yep.
You're going to have to do me a favor. You're going to do me a solid. Sit down, type in Radio Shack 23-channel CB radio, and thumb through it and find it so I can throw it in the video for the guys to know which your first radio was.
I'll do that.
Then you said 12-tube Phantom. Was it a gray or a tan Phantom?
Gray.
Gray.
Gray. So it was 4 hitting 8.
Right.
Yep. Had 3 stages to it. And like I said, my dad had Moonraker 4s, vertical and flat. And then we had what was called the Firebird. Was you can be on the vertical side, you can flip to the horizontal
Firebird.
side.
You mean the
Little square box.
I know this thing. It's got 3 switches on it, right? And
Yeah.
You could do vertical, horizontal, or both.
Both. That's right. That's right.
And a little. It's a white with red sides on it, right?
Yep.
Man, I had one of those when I was a kid, dude. Somebody gave me one of them when I was a kid, and I had one of those. I had that on my first Nintendo was a Amtron Shakespeare Super Big Stick, and then I had a little 4-ohm beam below that. But then I used to remember when radio was simple.
Yeah.
And remember when radio was cheap?
It was cheap. That's what before we started thinking about upgrading and wanting to get watts and wanting to key on people. I remember.
Okay, we'll get there. So let's go forward in time now. So when your dad had a radio in the truck, you were talking to Dad on the radio from that, and you had a bass, right? What kind of? And you had Moonrakers.
Moonrakers. And I used to. So my dad would leave to go to work. About 2, 3 in the morning. He drove trucks, and then he'd get back home probably about 5 or 6 or something like that.
Wow, full day.
Yeah. So, and he worked over in Jersey. So he had to drive to Jersey,
Wow.
pick up the truck, then go do his runs, and then come back.
Was he part of the local?
Yes.
Okay, so he's one of the International Brotherhood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I would go out there, and we skip and rolling, and I'd be out there, trying to get in there and talk. And really, what Night Night used to do is, he would stand by, because I would make the trip. And I'd never forget this. So it was a peak meter, right? And on vertical and flat.
What kind of meter?
A static.
Okay, all right.
A static.
Wow, talk about going way back. All right, okay.
A static. And it went up to 5,000, right? And I used to, on the vertical side, I only would get like maybe about 350 out. On the flat side, I would get like about 354 out.
Just a little bit more than 25 watts are going to make all the difference, right?
But on the vertical and horizontal side, I would get 6 to 700.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I stayed.
Right.
I wanted. I was already thinking about watts.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, come on, let's all face it.
Yeah.
More means more.
Yeah.
More is more.
More, right.
Right.
So I would be out there talking this, that, and the other, and holding it down. And at that time, I used to be called Puppy Toes. That was my first handle.
Your feet look normal to me, man.
Yeah, but my dad named me Puppy Toes because clubs, and he knew I love cards.
Okay, all right.
So that's where it came in at. And I would be out there talking, and I'd be doing my thing until, of course, the bigger guys came. And then, I had to stand by them, and I wait. And other people say, I would go down to 11, I would go down to 26. But I come right back to the bowl.
So you're saying the bowl was alive and well, so I don't want to get into that, the whole history of the bowl. That's not I'm not going there, but I thought that the bowl really didn't become the bowl that we kind of remotely understand it to be, even remotely like what it is today, until like the 80s. Or am I off?
You off, because
okay, careful.
That's where that's where I grew up at. That's where old man Bad News didn't talk on other. He didn't talk on other channel. So locally, you would talk skit. You could talk to your neighbors and everybody up until skit ran. When skit run, that was over. You had to go to another channel, and they used to go to 10. You know what I mean? They would go to 3.
Right.
Those was that was our local channels. But so I was fascinated about being.
You're what now? You're about 6, 7, right?
No, I was 9 years old.
Okay. So I know the upgrading didn't stop there. When did your dad notice that you really had an affection for this? Because I have a feeling your dad might have, or was it your mom?
No, my dad knew that I liked it, but he was in the neighborhood, and he just was, my dad was good with just that, talking a little bit.
Right.
I wasn't.
More is more.
So we started going to a place called Hobo Junction, which was a place where CBS met at. And my dad took me down there, and I got to meet some people. And I got a chance to meet, his friends was 29, and then another guy was, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember his name, his handle. But he had another friend out in West Philly. So he had a 750 Mako. So I used to go out there and talk on his station.
Then you felt like you're doing something.
And I used to be, he was out in West Philly, he was high up. So I was, I'd be talking good. So then they introduced me to Bad News. And he said, man, I've been wanting to meet you. He said, you be out there talking, this, that, and the other. He said, boy, you doing all right. So I had a cousin that lived right across the street. So I used to come down there. And Bad News would let me talk on the station. So now...
You were, quote, going to your cousin's house, but it was really to go to the neighbor's house next door and talk on the radio.
Talk on the radio.
Right.
And now I understood about Watts and Ken on people. Because I used to listen to him and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And back then, they ran some hard fives. The
Are you
fives,
saying the fives we pass on today are
the
like
fives
little
they
powder
passed
puff?
today? They powder, yeah. Guys with thin skin is nowhere in the world they could have dealt with back in the day. The fives, they talk about your mother. They talk about it was something. But he never did. He always kept it clean and talked to me about keeping it clean. And I used to love when he used to talk to Black Diamond, world's most precious jewel in Texas.
Wow. Okay. That handle alone just gives you the,
You know.
you know what? Oh man. Yeah.
And Craig Carter was out there then, but he really didn't talk up in our area.
So now we've jumped forward. How old are you now?
Oh, I'm still running about 10, 11, 12. I did that up to about 14 years old.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we're in the 80s.
Yeah. Now we're starting to work our way. Now we're in the late 70s.
No,
Okay.
because we started in 72.
We started in 72, and I was 9, and we take about 5 more years, maybe 6 more years. So I was about 78, and everything. And I started to wanted to be out the streets, wanted to hustle and doing things. So talked on the radio a little bit, but not as much.
Yeah, all of a sudden playing. And what I mean playing.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So then we started getting to the 80s. And
the 80s.
My dad used to go to breaks. And by the time he'd get to the break up at the lakes, the guys would say, man, who's 83? Because my dad's name, his radio name was 83 Drag Man. He's one of the James boys out of Philadelphia.
Wow.
And
I didn't know the club had that much lineage behind it.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the James boys.
The only exposure I got with the James Boys Club was towards the tail end of the club. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, they're still there, but it's not what it used to be. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
no. Because
Yeah, we're not going to go into that history, but okay. So, one of the James Boys, you guys are up to break.
yeah, so they would be at the break and they would tell him, who was 83 in Drag Man? And they would say, that's me. He says, yeah. Well, Puppy Toes, no, I was calling myself 369. So in the 80s, I became 369. And because at that time, Bad News had went to 456. So he went to 456, I went to 369. And that's when I started really making a name and being out there with the hammer and stuff and sort like that. And Bad 456 used to call me and say, come on over, come on down, and Hill Station, because I guess my voice pushed a lot of people's stations.
Well, okay, that's one way to say it. Or after watching you operate a little bit earlier, you're just loud, bro. You're just loud. I said, well, I'm talking around. I'm soft. I'm real soft, right? And prime and brother, you got volume on you.
Well, my dad was a soldier, so he talked.
Oh, you
loud.
were raised in that kind of house.
So my dad was loud, so I kind of picked that up. And that's why I said, man, with that radio, It was 3.5 hours because I had to start working on controlling my voice. Then he noticed when I get passionate, I get louder. So he had to make sure that if I did get louder, it could handle.
I couldn't believe it when I was coming across Indiana and you were coming in there. It was, man, like you were sitting in the truck with me. I got one of these really high-end Motorola business speakers in there that's really freaking loud. And I was just like, that's why I had to text you. I was like, dude, you are smoking coming here. It was crazy how loud you were.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the early 80s. Sorry, we diverged. And we're going to take a break here in just a couple minutes. So back to the early 80s.
So the early 80s. now I'm going over there. I got a couple of stations I can go to. Because
So you're pirating.
into the 70s came along a guy that my dad was really cool with, they hung out with. And it was Frank James. So Frank James was a big time number writer. Okay.
Okay.
And he had these houses and he went and got a 60-footer. His thing was he was going to shut Night Night down.
The competition is universal and eternal.
Yeah. He was going to be the station in the northeast corner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a freaking box that was about yay tall. And I don't know what was in it. But his technician was Judge. Okay. And Judge had some big stations and
what do you consider to be big? How big was his coax back then? Looking at
his
so
coax,
we see what you have here.
His coax
so
was
you have the eyeballs to look and see. The coax tells you something. How the feed point's hooked up tells you another thing. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at the hookup that comes out the wall, tells you a whole nother story, right?
Yes.
Looking back at, what do you think it was? Just guessing.
He had 2.7. I think it's probably like 217, 218.
Okay.
He didn't have no, wasn't LMR. People wasn't doing that up there, but he had big coax. But it wasn't like bi-coax.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And they did.
All of you in YouTube land, don't be mistaken. You can put a lot of shit to 217 and it'll take it. It will.
Yeah.
It'll take it. Not very long, but it'll take it. You know what I mean? But yeah. All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But and back in that
218.
day,
Yeah.
218. Back in that day.
So was it 218 or 217?
218.
Okay.
218.
Yeah.
Back in that day, nobody wasn't talking about birds. They was talking about peak rods. Okay.
Yeah.
And like I told you, I used to do about 700 peak rods. So I thought I was doing something. Well, Frank was doing about 15,000. Peak rods.
There we go. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And where he lived was a small street in North Philly. But like I said, he was a number writer. So
and nobody going to mess with him, right?
Ain't nobody bothering him. And he got a 60-footer.
How far did it hang over his property?
It went over all three houses. It had, and he owned the next two.
Okay, I was going to say.
He owned it. He owned it, so it didn't matter.
Right.
So he put it up there, and it went over those houses.
Do you know who did the antenna?
And I don't even know if it's a 60-footer. What's the super lasers?
A 40-something foot.
That's with super lasers. That's what he had.
Okay.
Super lasers. I'm sorry, not 60-foot. Super lasers. But it swung over
3 houses.
3 houses, and he had that triangle. I guess what they use with the quad on the back door.
Okay.
So super lasers.
Yep.
And so I could go over there and talk, and I knew what it was like.
To just be dominant, be able to get
Just
your
to be
name called at
dominant.
will.
And will. I knew what it was like. And I liked that feeling.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I liked that feeling.
Right.
And then I would go to the night station, and I would do the same thing. And I started fighting. I started listening to them two fighting. And that's how I started understanding how to fight and how to game and everything and how to listen to your radio. But what Bad News had, Night, what he had that Frank didn't have was he had a hell of an antenna system.
Big antenna.
He had Moonrigger 6s, okay, and that location that he had was darn good because he was whipping Frank some days with 7,500 peak watts
Versus 15,000.
versus 15,000.
All right, let's take a little bit of a break right there. No. 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 I don't care. The guys from Raid Shadow Legend can send me emails until they're blue in the face. I'm never doing that. This entire adventure was partially sponsored by our friend 12 around the Big Valley. That's the reason he's got, let's see, it'd be, yeah, over here. He's like right about there, I think. I called him a couple months before this thing started. Well, he called me and he says, hey, what do we got to do to get more content like this? He goes, I love it. I said, well, you know, working in Hollywood, homie, that it just takes time and money. Well, when I called him on this trip, I said, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. He's like, cool, let me know. And it was, he helped out a little bit, but a majority of it comes from our friends over here on this side of the screen, like down here. The Patreons. The Patreons are what pay for all of this. If you've ever learned or enjoyed any of the content that comes from here, you might want to think about coming and joining all of us on Patreon. I put up a post every single day on what I'm doing. There's a lot of behind the scenes content that I make available to them. First 15 minutes of this video will be up like a full week before you guys out here in YouTube land get to see it. There's a lot of fun stuff going on over there. Quite a few people are joining us over there, and it's a lot of fun. You might want to think about joining us. That's all I'm saying. Lady Mermaid. Let's go back and talk about her one more time. I am planning on doing another California trip because there's some big operators that are in California that I've still yet to get. And I want to sit down with them and I want to interview them and get their history just like I'm doing with the rest of these guys. Right? So there is going to be a California trip, part 3. There's a couple of the guys that are in the Northwest that I want to interview in time. We ain't done yet. And there's a whole lot of real estate that I just skipped over, and operators, I mean big time operators, that I skipped over on this trip that I took. So have faith, more is coming. Now, Pimp's not lying. Your antenna system, believe it or not, almost does more for you. Well, it does do more for you once you get over about 5,000, 6,000 watts, 10,000 watts. It does more for you than the amplifier could. And I think that, I don't care who you are, and I don't think I know that's true. And I don't care on what band, it's true. It's easier to make gains at the antenna system than it is with the amplifier. So what he was saying was true. Gentlemen, let's get back to it. Pennsylvania Pimp. I got all that fancy stuff up in my truck, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't ever talk on any of it. I had it on this morning as I was driving up here from the hotel, but I never turned the volume up till I was sitting in your driveway.
Man, you'd been talking. You'd been talking.
Yeah. I was sitting there listening to Motormouth do his thing, doing live plays back and stuff. And I was sitting there, I had to text him. I said, dude, it is so weird to hear you on this side of the United States.
And he sounds he sounds freaking awesome. Come over here.
As long as he keeps his fingers out of it.
Well,
man, he gets playing with that thing, and it's...
Bottom man, and want to change this.
Love that guy, though. Freaking genius.
He wants to do something because I told him what my plan is.
No,
So-
well,
He
he wants to be a station builder like everybody else on the planet, and he wants to put a radio in every home in the United States. And can you blame him?
Yeah.
I don't blame him at all. That's my goal. Want to have an amplifier in every home in the United States. It's not a bad way to think, though.
No, that's not a bad way to think.
Okay, so back to where we were at. 15,000 versus 8,000 in the antenna setup.
Mm-hmm.
So even at the young age of 15, 16,
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute. Maybe there's a little bit more to the antenna than there's the amplifier, right?
Yeah. There you go.
So you were pirating up into your teenage years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So then you went out on the street, started playing a little bit, got a little bit of money in your pocket. What was the first radio you bought yourself?
A Cobra 2000. No, it was a Cobra 1000. I got a Cobra 1000 first.
Okay.
And Cobra 1000, and then I got a pair, yeah, Cobra 1000, and then I had a 250B box with a pair of 250Bs in it. That's the first thing I got.
Who was it built by?
I got it from.
Don't say Telstar. Don't say Telstar.
It wasn't Telstar. It wasn't Telstar. I got it off of a guy. I don't know. It was I think it was Cocaine Charlie had built this box.
Cocaine Charlie.
Yes.
Man, in the amplifier world, that's a very infamous name, man. That's.
I think it was done by him. And then I moved and got a 3000.
How old were you then? Okay, no, hold on. So we went from 15 years old to how old are you now?
I am 59.
No. How old are you in the storyline?
Oh, in the storyline. So.
Because to jump, I mean, a 250B box, you can get away with a rental like that, but now you're talking a 3000. So now we're talking 100 amp service someplace. You have to have a house. Fill us in. You jumped over a little bit there.
So, the 250B was just a plug in the wall type of thing.
Right. 3000 is not bad.
Then I went to the 3000, and I was still renting the place. And, down in Baltimore, I had a guy do a little bit of wiring, a little adjustments.
Right. Punched a hole in something and ran some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ran some stuff in there. And it still, like I said, I wasn't 10.8 there, but...
Who built your first 3000? Do you remember?
First 3000, I bought that off of someone. And didn't know what was going on. And then I went to, after I finally got some money, because I came out of the gaming games, I got in some trouble, and got back in the game. I got a pair of 3000 built by Rifleman.
Another big name in the world.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So
pair of 3000s are tough, man. People sneer at that, and I'm like, I don't know why. It's the same power as like a 10. That's
well. Before I got, let me circle back. See, I got to think about this. I'm an old man, so you got to be patient with me.
all the time in the world.
John Boy built me a pair of 3000s.
Okay, John so not Rifleman.
Not yet. No, Rifleman fixed it. I had a pair of 3000s from John. And I stayed running probably about 4 months or whatever. And we kind of parted ways.
It's a good way to say that. All right, moving on.
We parted ways, and I got with Rifleman. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think I got to meet him at the Manchester break, but I don't know. I met a guy that called himself Rifleman, and he went on and on and on about all the different stuff he'd built, and I mean, he had a tablet with him that had thousands of amps in it that he'd built.
White guy older.
Yeah.
Crew cut. That was him. That's probably.
No kidding.
That was him. And I met him from John Deere.
I wish I could have met him.
Man.
You talk about legend that went on, man.
Let me tell you something. I had John Deere was a hell of a man, And as I think
how old were you when you first met him? Let's go there. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, when I personally shook hands with John Deere.
So you've been hearing him on the radio.
Well, what he did was I worked at Toby Hanna. I worked for this place, and I was in the radio. And when I started coming back, because after I had got my first 3000, got into some stuff, this, that, and the other, I came back in a Mobile. Because I was starting to put myself back on the planet. I had a 16 pill in the Mobile. And
what was your first mobile then? Let's go there. Let's even backpedal even further. What was your first mobile?
First mobile was I had a van. With
Chevy, Ford, Dodge.
Dodge van.
3 on the tree, 4 on the tree. The
Dodge.
swing open doors in the back. Was it gray?
Yes. Sliding
So you had a
doors.
shaggin' wagon.
Yes.
All right.
And I wanted to talk. I wanted to get into the radio. So I bought a 16 pill. I had a 5 pill already. I got a 16 pill. I had 588 do some alternators on the van. Put a bracket on there. So I had 3 alternators on the van.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one that ran the truck and then the other 2.
Yeah.
And
200 amps or something like that. 250
200
amps.
amps. Both of them was 200 amps. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 16 volt batteries. I had the 12 volt batteries in the back.
All right.
Okay, because Dancer told me, he says, man, you just go with 12 volts. You don't want to blow nothing.
Right.
You want just that and the other.
Right.
Because he helped me put the mobile together. And I was already smart enough to understand up on this mountain, getting height.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I got back into it that way. And I just got into it fighting and just loving it. You know what I mean? And I ended up meeting Painkiller in New York and through a guy named Stargate down here. His name was Freddie. They used to call him the Bread Man. At one time he lived in Strasbourg because he worked on ovens. And I never forget he told me this.
You mean our Painkiller that we met this last weekend? That Painkiller, same guy?
No.
Different guy.
No.
Different cat.
Yeah,
then.
different guy. Painkiller in New York.
Okay. Okay.
Big Mobile. He's always been the Mobile. Everybody in here. He's been a bad man. He used to do key downs. He came out of that. And now, yeah, he's a bad man.
Okay.
He's a bad man.
I know which one we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I never forget. Painkiller used to talk to me and tell me certain things. But when I met Freddie, Stargate, he told me, he says, if you want to get in this game and be right, you had to have deep pockets. You had to have deep pockets.
That's some 1980s dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he told me that, and we're talking about now, we're talking, because I went through a lot of different phases. We're talking now in this 2000s, 2002. Because I went through a little phase and everything, so I'm in and out of the radio game. But we're talking about, about 2002, 2003. And that's when I started putting money together, and I got to the house, and that's when I got the pair from John Boy. And like I said, John Boy, we parted ways after about 4 or 5 months. I mean, I was beating him. I was out there singing that song, Ain't No Whipping Like a John Boy Whipping, because a John Boy whipping won't quit. I was doing my thing, but I was getting like 12,000 watts. And that's when
So you switched over and went to Rifleman.
I went to Rifleman.
And he'd come in and loved on it a little bit.
Loved on it a little bit, and I could get 15,000 watts.
Right. Okay. Now,
And I could.
are we still talking peak numbers? Or are we talking?
Oh, it's
average?
Bird. No,
Right,
I'm in
okay,
Bird.
yeah,
I'm in
okay.
Birdland now.
All right. Well,
I'm
okay.
in Birdland.
We got to have some kind of. We got to make it so everybody out there in YouTube land understands what we're talking about.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I started getting into the game, and started thinking, I didn't mess with peak watts no more. I started thinking everything about Bird. Okay, and that was what Freddie and Painkiller was teaching me about Bird. Kid swinging forward, not that swinging back stuff.
Yeah.
Swinging forward. So when I got to knowing Rifleman, John Deere told me about him, but I had John Deere. We had started talking back when I was on Fort Hood, when I used to go TDY to different places. And he used to tell me, yo, I just came from down there. You go down there, these guys will take care of you. They used to go drop all the guys down there. He told me, they'll take care of you. They got you. And John Deere was looking out for me, never had met me. Never had met me. Just talked to me on the phone. I needed something. I said, yeah, man, I'm having this problem. This problem is, okay, what's the address? He just sent it to me.
Right.
I said, JD, what I owe you? You don't owe me nothing. So our relationship continued on building like that.
Yeah.
And if he say, yeah, I'm working on this, I'm trying something, and if I had it, bam, I sent it to him.
Right.
Okay.
Never gotten to meet him
Never got to meet him.
at that point.
We talked every morning at 5 a.m. When I'm going to work, this, that, and the other, we talked every morning. So, I'm building the station up. So I had an antenna. Just a regular Mako 6-element beam. And then I met a guy called Airwolf. Yeah, he likes to work on antennas.
What was his handle?
Airwolf.
Airwolf. Oh,
He calls himself.
he must still be living because you got a little thing for him there.
Well, this is something I made special for him.
Yeah.
So he calls himself the #1 mud duck in the stone now.
Okay.
So Airwolf came over, and I seen this antenna. He started talking about my antenna. He said, yeah, it's pretty nice. This, that, and the other. See, you got to come up to my house. So when I came to his house, I seen the square boom, right? So I said, a square boom. He said, yeah. I copied a little bit off of Joe Gunn because they used the square boom, but I got my own little modification to it. I said, okay. Well, I kind of like that. So I went to the square boom. And I had to make them so it took a lot of tuning and everything else so like that. So John Deere says, yo, I'm gonna get you some specs. I'm gonna hook you up with some specs.
Right.
And he said, because I tested his antenna, man, I'm talking on it and it's working. You know what I mean? You want to try it out. So I used his specs and put on that square boom. Now John Deere wasn't using the square boom. And I told him what I was doing. I said, man, I'm having problems tuning this thing out. He said, what are you having problems? I said, just tuning. He said, well, would you, and that's all I said, well, I'm on a square boom. He said, oh, square boom? I said, yeah, because I get these winds and I want it to be stable and level and it looks all freaking cool. And so he says, okay, let's play with it. So we played with that antenna and I went up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down until finally it got locked there. And
So that's just a T match, right? It's straight up direct fed, right?
Yeah. Right.
We're looking out the window, yo, and just staring up at this big antenna he's got in his backyard. That's all we're doing. Okay, so you hook up with John Deere, so we're back in the 90s still. Let's go back there, because somehow we worked our way all the way up to present date. We skipped over a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Bunch of shit. So where in your travels was it that you finally got to lock hands with Mr. John Deere?
I didn't lock hands with him until about 2004.
Oh, well, you got almost 20 years with him, man. After you got to meet him. Yeah.
And I locked hands with him. And I tell you something, man, it was just a freaking pleasure.
He was a kind man. Good dude. Been in the game a long time, you could tell. I was not close with him, and I will never claim to have been.
Yeah.
I talked with him a couple times on the phone, and I was just getting to where he might have bothered to remember my name. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he was gone, so.
Yeah. No, he would remember your name. He just,
man,
that's
can you
the type
think
of
of a
guy
better
he
way
was.
to go, though? Go lay down and just go to sleep. Versus a slow death with cancer or something else that, might afflict us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I had just talked to him that night.
Yeah.
We was talking on the radio. Then I called them, and we talked. And then my damn stomach bothered me. But
dude, that sandwich you fed me for lunch, ooh. Man, I'm glad I didn't eat breakfast this morning. I just come up here. That was. All right, it's a good place to take a little break. I think. We'll be back.
I love it. I love it. I can't deny myself of it.
Dude, you ain't no joke. So I was standing out there taking a break, vaping. I'm looking at the transformer on the pole. I'm looking at the wire coming to the service head. I'm looking at the service panel and the disconnect on the side of the house. Brother, you ain't no joke, man. You spent the money.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Once I get a chance to, I'm not finished. So, when I came to this house, there's another, see, a lot of people, that's a shame though. When you come into CB, right, when you get into radio, and how deep it is and what it means to me, I'm always looking like when I came over here, right, I bought to look at this house. First thing I did was pull the car in the back of the yard, right?
Right,
See how it was
listen,
received. Listen. Then I looked at the pole.
Now, didn't you have anything over at the other place?
Yeah, I had something over there, but I didn't have it set up like that. Yeah, I was running a 15,000 over there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And
You're talking.
it's a difference.
No kidding. So you're saying that the distance from over there to over there is
It's different.
okay.
And,
Now,
and
you're
matter of
meaning
fact,
that house right there, yeah?
I'm needing that house here. But don't you see it's like a little bit of level is coming up?
Yeah, a little bit.
I can talk to Switchblade here. I can talk to Switchblade here with no freaking problems.
I freaking love that guy. He's the only person I've ever met so far in this entire hobby that matches his voice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Man, Hustler and him is deep. Deep with him, man. I like him, dude. He's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Greg is a good dude, man.
He is.
Okay, so see, where do we live? Okay, so you're on a pair of threes, and you're just starting to get your situation right.
Yes. Just starting to settle in, getting things right.
When did you move away from the threes?
I moved away from the threes.
That's a hard jump, dude, because the threes are like a Swiss watch. You just turn them on and they go. You know what I mean?
I moved away from the threes, I'd say, probably about 13 years ago.
Okay.
About 13 years ago. I moved
Right.
away from the threes. And I bought the house in Mayfield. So I wasn't talking for a little bit because that neighborhood wasn't going to allow me to be able to do it.
Too fancy, huh?
Yeah. And I had already just got kicked out of another neighborhood where you was at.
HOAs?
Yeah, I got kicked out of there. You know, so I was being smart. So I knew that I had to get me a house somewhere where I can do my thing.
Right.
And I don't have to worry about it. And the first place I got was right down here. It's a freaking hell of a deal. The rent was good. It was a house. And it was behind a restaurant. So I was somewhat kind of hidden.
Okay.
And
Except for the giant ass antenna.
but yeah. And look, the lady wanted to know, what the hell is that right there? And I says, just an antenna. Just an antenna. And she was like, oh, that's a big behind the antenna. Yeah, that's a big antenna. And I was like, that's about, I think it was about an acre. And, you know, I had learned my lesson, so I went to up here to the county and found out, hey, do I need to get something?
Is there variance? Is there a permit? Is there an overheight permit? Yeah.
No, as long as if it falls on your property, you're fine. Oh, that's it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. So I put the antenna up. And 36, 4 sections. 36 feet. And then
Maybe 38 to the top if you had a top runner.
right,
Yeah.
right. So, and over there, I'm 1,900 feet above sea level. So I was like in a real, I'm really doing my thing. But when the restaurant opened, I couldn't talk.
What is the average elevation around here? Because let's face it, there's some rolling hills where you live.
The average, I say,
This,
is probably,
where are we at now? This is the Poconos, or where are we at now?
this is not the Poconos. This is like Forest City. I say I'm in the Poconos. I throw people off, but I'm not really.
But that's just down the way.
This is Susquehanna County. This is Susquehanna County.
Yeah, but that's just down the way.
Yeah.
And so when I was coming down from the highway and I was coming down the mountain, I could see a giant city off in the distance. Now, is that New York or what was that?
When you was coming down off the mountain?
Yeah.
That's a part of Jersey.
So that's New York, kind of.
Jersey, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. We're that close to New York City right now.
Not too far from New York City.
Yeah. That's where I'm going to spend the next couple of days. I guess I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you're not that far.
Yeah.
Now, it's probably going to take you around about because it depends on where he's at.
So there's 4 people over there I got to go deal with. 5. There's 5 stops actually, and then I'm into Virginia and going south at that point. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to dance around this whole upper end of the.
How long you planning on you going to be out?
I have no return date. I'm going to be out here until I get what I want. Get the people I want, get to see who I want, get to meet who I want. It's more about making business contacts and setting some things up for in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of stuff going on people don't. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background, right?
Okay.
Right now there's four different kinds of watt meters we're working on, all digital. What do you think I went to Detroit for?
Okay.
A lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to help and be involved and move things forward as best as I can.
That'd be cool.
And people need to meet other people. It's amazing how close people are together and they don't even know each other exist, right?
Yeah, right.
But then I sit way out on the other side of the United States. I'm like, you need to meet so-and-so. How do you guys not know each other? You're only an hour and a half apart. How do you not know each other? You're in the same game.
Yeah,
There's going to be a little bit of that. I got to go and buy parts and picking up a thing and then going to work on it another place and then sell it and take it another place and, just a hustle. It's the hustle. I figure I'll be gone for, let's see, I'm on week. This will be week number 1. I've been out for 7 days. I probably won't be home for another 2.
Okay.
7,000 something miles.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
$4,000 in hotel rooms alone. Yeah, that's what I could budget it out right now.
Wow.
Yeah. You are always on the list to come see. Period. I didn't know if it was going to work. I wanted to wait until I got to meet you at the break, but there's quite a few people I would have stopped, but it didn't. I don't know. It just didn't feel right. Does that make sense?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, I know. Certain things you just don't feel too good with.
I've seen some interesting. I found one hotel and I thought, man, this is a good deal. It's like $100 a night. Like, oh, this is awesome. This is where I'll spend my first night. So I pull in there or my second night. I pulled in there and there's this guy all gacked out on flocka dancing around the parking lot. Didn't care anything about that. The trash cans in the back, completely overflowing out onto the ground. That didn't even slow me down. The little skinny meth head with the needle hanging out of her arm passed out in the parking lot. Doesn't bother me either. Not at all. When I go to check into a hotel, I'm not walking inside of a metal cage to check in.
No.
No. That just tells me some shit goes there at night I don't want to deal with.
That you don't need it, yeah.
I just don't want that drama. So instead I went and I found this hotel right down on the Mississippi. Right on the edge of Iowa and Illinois border.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I spent the 4th. God, it was beautiful. But the bugs, my God. They got some bug there that's about the size of my thumb. I was telling you about this. It just coated the whole front end of my truck. I mean, it just, the whole front end of my truck, the radiator, everything, I was so bad that, you know, it was like the Willie Nelson song, on the road again, I can't wait to get on the road again. I've hit so many damn bugs, my headlights are going dim. It was bad, dude.
Yeah.
It was
got some
bad,
bugs
I don't
out
know,
there,
but it was a beautiful place
and
to
they
spend
splatter,
the Fourth.
man. They freaking just explode on your windshield.
Yeah, when I finally stopped, I was looking through about a 6-inch patch to where I could see out that didn't have bug guts all spattered all over it. It was bad. So I'm at the gas station scrubbing, you know. It's been a fun trip so far, and I cannot believe how far I am from home.
Yeah,
you know
all
what
the way
my
across.
trip meter read when I pulled in your driveway?
Right.
We'll walk out there and go look at it. 2,666.6 miles. No shit.
Damn, bro, you're a hell of a long ways from home. That's for goddamn sure. You're a hell of a long ways from home, man.
I can't believe what we got to go do. All the people that were there. You think how many people were in that hotel with us this weekend? Just the sum accumulative amount of watts that could be transmitted from those stations.
Yes.
I mean, that was the top 1%.
Yeah, for real.
In the United States. Really dial it down. Let's dispense with the bullshit and the rivalry between breaks and all that crap. Just look at each person, let's say, has a number above their head. And, you know, I'm in the 80,000 club, right? You're in the 100,000 plus club. There's a couple other guys that are in the 100,000 plus club. Everybody's walking around with that number above their head. Well, you put 10 people together, that's 1,000,000 watts. There had to have been 100-something people there, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear an official number?
I hadn't heard an official number, but I think it had to be about 100. It had to be about 100.
So on average, those guys are on 30 to 50,000 watts.
Yeah, because them guys in the lakes got some watts.
There are some dudes not screwing around, but then there was people that come up from Texas. Look at Big Boss. He's in the 100,000 watt club. You know, there's
Yeah.
418. How many of them guys does he keep on the air?
Yeah.
He's a traveling man like me. He runs all over the place.
Yeah. He's putting them into that next level.
So I met him when I was with my business partner, and I met him. He's just south of Dallas down there, and he come walking up to me as soon as I pulled up, and I was so fried from driving. It didn't even click in my head who he was until about 4 hours later. After I've been there and spun down a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, I got to meet him and then meet him again and then meet him again. He's such a good dude, though. I mean, people say whatever they're going to say. I don't get into any of that. But
He's got a good heart.
He's helped me when there was nobody else in the country that knew what the problem was that I was facing. They couldn't figure it out. Of course, you know, I'm not like you. I don't have Pete's phone number on speed dial. He wouldn't even answer if I called him, you know what I mean? But if I had his phone number, I don't. But I called him, and he listened to me. He goes, oh, yeah, put a strap from here to here and here to here, and this is why. Goodbye. And it worked. So I got mad respect for the guy.
He's smart. He's a smart guy.
Right.
The only thing that I try to tell him, you know, that you're going to go to a lot of people's houses that have boxes that's been done from different people.
Yeah.
Please do not allow that to be your focus. You there to do a job, this, that, and the other, and because you're the young gun. You're the next coming up. I said, because they're going to try to spin you that way. And you got to be better.
I just go, and if I need to help somebody with something, I do it, and then I walk, and I don't ever.
Yeah.
It's just too much drama, and it's not worth it.
It is.
For what? It doesn't get you any gain. That's the thing that.
It doesn't.
That you'll get a better positive result if you just help and then leave.
And that's what I'm trying to tell him. And I hope
I'm not saying he's not doing that. I'm just saying.
I think he's doing it, but he's still getting.
He's just busy. He's just trying to share with everybody how busy he is.
He's getting involved, and I just told him, he says, you got to watch it because there's some techs is going to take offense to you coming in because that's been their cash stream. Yeah. And now I said, so, you know, that's what I understood when Pete told me. He says, I don't want to back away from the game, but I'm just tired of arguing. I'm tired of fussing. I'm tired of people doing me dirty.
It's such a mess sometimes.
I'm tired of it. So now he back, and he's just like, He only deals with a select few. He doesn't, he used to go and work on people's stuff and just fix it. Not go change it, just go fix it. I never forget when I introduced him to John Deere. So he knew John Deere. But John Deere was having problems with his boxing, and I called John Deere up. I called Pete up. I said, Pete, look, JD's having some problems, man, with this stuff. He's not getting there. I said, why don't you swing past there and help him out? And he swung past there, and John Deere couldn't thank me enough. He said, yo, he taught me stuff, he showed me, and then the watch he started pulling out my box. I couldn't freaking believe it.
Pete's smart.
Bump and grind 9. He'll tell the world. No Pity be standing right next to him. He was running that box. He couldn't get it to go for certain farms, having problems. Pete went over there. Pete told him, tell No Pity, come on up here. I'm going to show him something. Worked on that box. Got him another 15,000 watts that he wasn't able to get. It was so good to him that No Pity said, look, come on down the street. You know what I mean? And I teased him when I see him. I said, yeah, your technician had my technician come through his back door because he didn't want everybody to know. But I'm just saying, that's the type of guy he is. He has so much freaking knowledge. But he's been hurt so bad, that it just burns you.
I can tell you as an ant builder, you start putting up walls. You just don't let anybody come past. And my goal is not to let my walls get so high that I can't let people in or be friendly to people. But I can see it happening, though. I can see somebody getting in that position, that mindset.
Let me tell you something. You so down to earth and everything of the sort like that. Because I'll tell you, I remember when trying to get to know Pete. People told me, oh, Pete ain't going to mess with you. He ain't going to mess with you. They told me all kinds of stuff. Pete came here and built my station. And nobody would believe how much it cost me.
Okay, hold on. If we're going to do this, let's do it right.
Yeah.
Let's bust this out in its own little Okay, so you had a Rifleman dual tube 3000 modified.
Mm-hmm.
So you decide you're going to get yourself right. You got the house down. When you jumped away from the threes, because we kind of got off topic, so we'll go ahead and slide back in here again. Where did you start making the decision to try and meet somebody that's going to allow you to get into the 15,000 club, 10,000 club, 20, that kind of thing? What was the motivation to get you off the threes and then go from there?
Well, the motivation was to thrive and I love to fight.
Who doesn't?
So,
yeah.
And, talking with John Deere, Painkiller in the Carolinas, I just wanted to upgrade. I said, I want to be the guy. And back in 2000, I'm not sure, I think it's 2010, 2011, when Night passed, I never forget I came down there and seen him. And he loved Pepsi, so I brought him a Pepsi. And we sitting there talking, and he says, nephew, I'm so proud of you. He says, I'm knighting you, the guy to take over the Northeast Corner. And, that man meant a lot to me. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to step my game up, because a pair of threes ain't gonna make it. And I wanted the 15,000. And that's when I got with Pete.
How did you get with Pete? Who introduced you to Pete? How did you come across Pete?
So, it's funny how I met Pete. So, Freddie was getting a pair of 3000s from Sneaky Pete. And we had to meet Sneaky Pete down in Georgia at a break. And we met him down there at the break, and Freddie got that box, and that's when I shook hands with him. And let's tell him, hey, I wanna get with you. All right, to do something. So he was up in Cincinnati, and then he was going back home. But in the meantime, we was talking in between. So he says, "Hey, Black Rooster has a 15,000 that he wants to sell. He wants to get rid of. It's a John Boy case, but I did the work to it.
Right. Repop.
Okay."
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yeah." So I said, "I want it." And he says, "Okay, I'll put it in my truck, my truck, and bring it up there to you." And that's when the devastation part started. That's when the RF, that's when it started getting to me. Because now I started being able to run some lots.
Really get in with the fights now.
Yeah, now I can really start.
Instead of popping in there,
Yeah,
you were now
popping
walking
this,
in
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Now I can start doing my thing.
What was the first thing you blew up on your station from the pair of threes?
First thing
Give us that if you're willing to share it with the world.
First thing I blew up was the doorknob. That's the first thing I heard something shatter.
Isn't that fun? Man,
It was like
dude.
the shatters, like those. So now I'm ducking because I'm thinking like somebody just shot through a box or something, whatever. And they just boom. It's the first thing I blew.
Yeah.
And then I started. I went through tubes. Well, that was the reason what took me to the next phase with Rifleman. I went from tube after tube. Couldn't understand it.
Right. You're burning up parts that you felt you shouldn't have to.
Right. And I knew I wasn't running that hard.
Right.
But when I started getting into them 15,000, that number, I went through vacuum tuners. No. What's
Relays?
The relays. Vacuum relays.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stepped up and went and got, because I still had to remember the rhythm. Hit the foot pedal. Then do, you know what I'm saying, don't be hitting the 3,000, then hit the, so I had to go through that stand. So I made some steps. I learned. And so now I'm starting to key some watts and everything or so like that. And then that's when I started talking to Pete. I said, "Pete, I'm buying this other house," because Pete came over there, wired it up. This landlord was so cool. He was so freaking cool. He freaking helped us wire it up. He was impressed on what I was doing. He freaking helped me. Yeah. He dug the hole, poured the concrete, helped me stand the tower up. Like, he was amazed. He was talking to people, he was really amazed. When I left that house over there, he came over here, dug the hole, picked my whole antenna up out the ground with the concrete plate.
I can't believe if I heard that, I'd be running to disconnect my shit. That's lightning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Keep going.
And
Pick the antenna, the whole ball of concrete.
Whole ball of concrete, brought it, set it over here in the yard. Leveled it on out.
So you're saying that ball of concrete that's holding that up is what come from over there?
Come from over there.
Wow. All right.
And I said, "Pete, I'm ready to take it to the next level." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I want to do something." Then my wife got real sick. So we kind of broke away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And everything. And the amount of money I was putting out, man, I thought I was going to sell my stuff. Because I just couldn't keep up with everything. And that's when Pete came up and said, "Hey, you really want to make this move?" I said, "Yeah, I really want to make this move." I said, "But my finance, Pete, it's not there."
Right.
He said, "I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you that." He said, "Do you want to make this move?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Okay, well, I'll be up." That's when he broke my whole station down. Built me that one driver that you see out there that I gotta get. It's got 8791s in it.
Yeah.
He built me the 3000, and then he built me the 32. Because I had the tubes.
Right.
And he built me a 3-tuber. And the old box, I'll show you when we go downstairs. There was a single. I'll show you the cab that he took it out of. And he built it on up
So you shook hands with the man down there in Georgia?
in Georgia.
Yeah, it's some of these guys, you just got to meet them to.
Yeah. And they
And,
told
you
me,
know, that's the beauty of the YouTube channel is it's really opened a lot of doors. Otherwise, I've never been able to get to meet as many people as I've gotten to meet. Because if they hadn't gotten to know me a little bit through the channel, no way.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Just it would have not happened. So
Yeah, that's the thing of it is. There's so many things going on in the world, man. People is hesitant to open their doors to you or allow you to get too close. And I'm
Right.
gonna tell you something. I'm really that way, but I was that way because I was in the game.
right.
So you can't allow people to get too close to you.
Well, brother, you got a lot here too. This is a mansion on a hill, dude. This is no joke. Your house is beautiful here, man. Your backyard is phenomenal. Wake up every day to look out the window and see this. Come on now.
I tell you, God just does things for you purposely. So when I was losing, after I had those deaths, this is where I sat right there in that chair and talked to God, looked up in the sky and talked to him.
Memories run deep in this room for you.
So this is where I came for 8 months. I would go down on the radio, but that came about 4 or 5 months in. I would go down on the radio, talk a little bit, come back up here, and just look out here. Some days I slept right out here. So this room means a lot to me. But as you can see, I mean, you're looking right at the sky, you can just see it's just wide open.
This is heaven. I wish I could spin the camera around, which I'm not going to do, but this is absolutely gorgeous here, man. Well, let's move it downstairs. Let's change the venue.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it's good.
Telling you, you couldn't have picked a better shirt to match that freaking wall behind you. So now we're down here, and what do you call this room down here other than your man cave? This is like a whole nother apartment down here, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a bathroom down here?
That's the only thing I got to put down here, bathroom. My plan is to extend this out a little bit.
Right.
Put a hot tub right then and there. Bathroom, and then
Pool table, flat screen, a big giant CB station, a big fridge. That's basically a full kitchen, isn't it?
yeah, full stove, stove over there. It's got I can cook down here. I can entertain down here.
Nice home, dude. Absolutely nice home. So what's next? You gonna put 420s up in that thing?
Pete feels as though we haven't really tested the full capability
Or what you got now?
of what I got now. And the good thing about this is, the crazy thing about it is, I don't have the full ampage. Like I said, the ampage and the things to it, but we've had it at 100K. So imagine when I put the full amperage to it.
Right. You're talking you want to go a little bit bigger power supply because you got the power coming off the pole.
Oh, yeah, the powers. Yeah. Well,
You've got the power coming off the pole. You're talking you want a different plate transformer. And that plate transformer still ain't no joke. I mean, how did you get that down in this hole? You had to wield it in through this back door.
Yeah.
So you brought it down the hill and...
Brought it down the hill and brought it in that way. That's the reason how I got it in there.
Well, you seen mine. I had to put it in with a tow truck.
Yeah.
6 of us tried to pick it up. We couldn't pick the transformer up.
Yeah.
I mean, when we put it in the back of the truck was squatting. Then you look at the one that derails got, man, they had to pick that thing up with an engine hoist, and then it broke the engine hoist.
They broke the, yeah. Yeah.
It broke the trailer. They brought it home on it, and it broke the engine hoist. I mean, it's like, at what point do you say is enough?
I don't know.
Conditions or positions? Which is better? Is it better to have good condition or a really, really good position when you're talking?
Conditions always is good, but I always believe in the position plays a part.
Right.
Plays a part. Because you can have conditions, but you're not in the right position. You know what I mean? You get your brains busted. Like, as you can see today, for that little bit of time that I keyed up,
Oh, you're just playing. You weren't. I don't even think you had your driver on.
I was just playing.
Yeah.
I was just playing. Because the position that I'm in makes a whole lot of difference. When I get conditions, there's nobody can talk on my conditions, and I don't even have to cut the big box on.
Yeah. But who is your closest person to you that's in the, as far as location?
The closest person to me, I think I'm probably in between Double Nickel and Bad Attitude. Money's going to be a little bit higher than me. He's going to be, he's going to be in Connecticut, but he's
What's
a
your
little bit
elevation here now?
My
height-wise?
elevation here is 1,790 something.
I'm almost 2,000 foot higher than you. Where I'm at.
Yeah.
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 Castle on top of the hill, my man. So you're saying bigger plate transformer, and then you're going to put 420s in it just because you can.
I don't know.
Or are you going to go get a pair of 35,000s? I mean,
I would tell you now, it's people getting pairs of 35,000, but I don't think they're going to be able to. I think what I have now is maybe we might do that. Maybe we might want to do that. Pete said his dream, right, is 515s.
why not make it an even 6?
Oh, 6.
Okay, so here's my phone. Let's do a little bit of math. So 1,500 and we'll say 60 ohms. And then we'll divide it by 5. That's 312 ohms total. It means your tank coil will be about maybe 2 inches round. You'd have to have a little hump.
Yeah.
Hey, if anybody can get that to work, it's going to be Pete.
Yeah.
It's not a project I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
take on, you know.
Or I might be thinking about, remember that tube that I showed you?
Yeah.
But that's a lot of bolts that I have to kind of bring to it. So, and I don't want to do a pull peg.
Me and I was showing that to Bluegill. We're talking about that tube this weekend. And he looked at the voltage and went, "Oh no!" it was an immediate, "Oh no!" And I was like, "Right, I know." And he's like, "The radiation." I was like, "Nah, good to go. Send it." You know, when you get higher that high a plate voltage, the tube can produce X-rays and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I can understand that concern. I can. Man, but 65,000 volts. Come on.
Yeah, that's a lot of volts. That's a lot of volts.
That's a lot of volts.
I would definitely have to block that off and put it somewhere that can
You'd have to build a room for it to sit in, yeah.
Yeah, I would have to build a room for that to sit in.
Yeah.
But imagine only having to put like 25 watts in.
Right. Like I said, the screen drive on it was only 25, 30 watts max dissipation, so maybe double that, you know, and that's it. You're talking a 1.5 million watt tube. All we got to do is find the tubes and the sockets.
Yeah. Well, I know what the tubes is. It's just getting the sockets.
I was looking at the print. I don't even know if there was a socket for that. It might just sit on a flange. I don't know.
If I'm thinking correctly, I ain't not thinking correctly. It's sitting in it's water cooled. It's sitting in something. Or oil. It's sitting in something. So it's not a socket. It got a thing around it. I'll have to send you a picture of it. I'll send you a picture of it.
Is there anything else you want to put out there for the land to hear? All the people it sees. And I want to first off say thank you for, one, bringing me to your home, two, letting me watch you run your station, and three, being open for the idea of this. Because a lot of people don't get it. They don't get what we're trying to do.
No. And one of the things that I'm trying to do, PBI, is keep this game alive, this hobby. Because it is a good hobby. You can meet a lot of amazing people in it. And it's about giving back. It's about giving back. So, after going through so many different things in life and happening, my CB brothers and sisters really was there for me through this whole thing. And that means a lot, because you have some people that's only there for you until you start getting watts. Then after
Or
you
they're
start
only
getting
there
watts,
if they can get something from
or
you.
they can get something from you. But I had people actually reaching out and caring and asking, what you need? Is there anything I can do?
Yeah, bring you something to eat.
Yes, bring you
Just
something.
come over and spend some time with you.
Those kind of things. So I'm in this hobby, humbling myself to continue on giving back and doing what people did for me. And that's what I want to do. I just want to continue on living this hobby. And don't get me wrong, I love to fight. I love to be out here. I built this station to put that target on my back. So
That was my alarm saying the world's going to end. No.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to just say, and I want to thank you for taking the time to coming out. I mean, I really appreciate that. You coming down and wanting to meet me, a mud duck like me. I really appreciate
Mud
that.
duck, yeah. So, I don't know. Just at the break, I was really blown away with how there was literally people that were excited to meet me that were there. And I, in my wildest dreams, would have never, ever expected that.
Oh, yeah.
It was 2 very fun days. And I was really relaxed because normally when I go someplace public, I got to worry about a lot of different stuff. Somebody going to mess with the truck. Somebody going to do this. Is this going to happen? I had none of that. Because a lot of them, let's face it, those guys that were at that break are pretty well established. It's just a different vibe, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
But you were one of the first people to come right up to me and give me a big ass hug and say, "Hey man, welcome." And I say thank you.
Thank you,
brother.
brother. Thank you. God bless you, brother. I appreciate you so much.